co-cavaliers, ladies and gentlemen, maayong gabi sa inyong tanan. Umpisahan ko muna yung speech ko nung natutunan ko sa just the other week, last weekend, I was in Eastern Samar. So, si Congressman Nonoy Libanan, sa pagkikwento na niya, sabi niya, alam mo, kasi honorary member ng class namin. Sabi niya, Mista, alam mo, nung college ako, ang tapang ko kahit na paglabas ko sa bahay, inaaway ko lahat, sabi niya. Bakit naman? Bakit? Hindi ba ako tatapang sa bahay, mas matapang yung misis ko. So anyway, ganun din yata yung nangyari sa akin kasi sabi nila, Ariel, bakit ang tapang-tapang mo? Lahat ng armed groups sa Philippines during your time, kinalaban mo, di ba? CPP, NPA, MNLF, MILF, the APO-CF group. Yung most formidable enemy ko, yung armed forces, ba't ang tapang mo? Sabi ko, bakit hindi ka naman tatapang? Sa bahay, waray yung misis ko, mas matapang sa akin. So, yun palang dahilan, no? Na matapang ako. Waray pala yung misis ko. And well, I really find time to, from time to time, to go back to Cebu. By choice siguro kasi naging Cebuano na rin ako. It was in Cebu where my parents-in-law met. My father-in-law was a lawyer. My mother-in-law, an interna, magmamadre. No? Dito sila nag-meet sa Cebu, dito rin silang kinasal. So, ganun yung connection kung bakit nakakailang balik na ako ng Cebu. At the outset, allow me to thank the organizers of this fellowship. Thank you for this opportunity to be with you. Allow me to introduce myself, especially to the young cavaliers who might have started their careers when I was already out of the service. Let me share with you my life story, a journey of life's ups and downs, and hope you will be able to fully understand where I am coming from. I will share with you some insights which I have gained through my more than 34 years in the military service and in my many exploits as a Marine officer, and how I was able to build relationships on my way up and when I was down. And also my experience in the corporate world after being engaged by San Miguel Corporation in December 1, 2010. When I graduated with my postgraduate in Australia, the keynote speaker said, and I quote, "The secret to success is 80% social skills and 20% acquired knowledge. It's all about building good relationships. It's networking." When I joined San Miguel, I met a lot of technical people, architects, engineers, and they're all successful. So I stumbled upon this research done by the Carnegie Institute of Technology, and it says 85% of success is human engineering. It's all about your personality and ability to communicate, lead, and negotiate. Shockingly, only 15% is technical skills. For us to be successful in anything we do, we should learn to build good relationships and make friends. Fellowship like this is part of it. Camaraderie. We have fellowships to nurture good relationships. Although I am a veteran of so many battles, I do not believe in war. Talking peace is still the better alternative. Sun Tzu was right when he said, to fight and conquer in all our battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. You might be wondering why I talk like this now. You know, in the all-out war, my unit spearheaded that war. Would you believe, halfway through it, we were about to reach Camp Abu Bakr. We declared a unilateral ceasefire. We threatened the enemy, the MILF. If you'll not surrender, we will bombard, we will, lahat daw ng person, gagamitin ng armed forces. But would you believe the reason why we have to declare a unilateral ceasefire? We ran out of ammunition. We have to send 2 ships to Thailand to borrow ammunition. That's how expensive war is. Nakita kami na ni Ariel, sabi ni Ariel, namatay yung 19 na special forces sa Basilan. Yung former chair ng peace panel, yung peace process rather, now Justice Mardik Leonen. Ang sabi niya nagkaroon daw ng lapse pa sa military kasi we were not, yun daw troops did not ask permission from the MILF. O sabi ko sandali, hindi naman tayo nagbigay ng teritoryo pa sa sa MILF, di ba? So I stood for, I took the side of the armed forces and said, no, hindi naman natin kailangan magpaalam sa kanila. But we cannot declare an all-out war kasi ma-jeopardize yung ongoing peace talks. So if you want, sabi ko, let's declare yung MILF, yung sinasabi nila na nag-ambush daw nung 19 special forces. So let's declare them as lawless elements. Then we'll run after them para hindi ma-jeopardize yung ongoing talks. Tumawag sa akin si President Arab, sabi niya, Ariel, ba't iba na yung posisyon mo? So I told him, sabi ko, sir, iba mo talaga ang gera, mahal masyado. Ay, di ba, sabi niya, binigay ko lahat nun kay sa Chief of Staff, kay General Reyes. Yun na nga po, pero naubusan tayo ng bala. We have to send 2 ships, sa Pattaya para manghiram ng bala. Talking peace really should be the expertise of all of us. We should master. We should be able to win the hearts and minds of the people with not just good propaganda, but with sincere, honest, and well-meaning messages and actions. It is all building good relationships. I find this very beneficial because when I'm asked to help our team in public hearings regarding our big projects that are part of nation building, we have to convince the people in the community to support our project because this will give them livelihood. It's all about winning the hearts and minds. Di ba yun yung counter-insurgency rin natin? It's all about winning the hearts and minds of the people. So in our case, it's all about winning the hearts and minds of the people in that locality to support our project, because it will give them livelihood. In fact, even the National Task Force in ending local armed conflict, local communist armed conflict, recognizes the fact that San Miguel is doing its job in nation building. The insurgents have ideologies. They thrive because of issues like social injustice, non-delivery of basic services, graft and corruption, and so with violent extremism. The antidote to all this is good governance and a disciplined men in uniform. No military abuses, no police brutality. We became rebels because we wanted change. Our countrymen who opted for an armed struggle also want reforms. But we all know that this is not the proper way to address these concerns. But I realized that Mahatma Gandhi was right when he said, be the change that you want in this world. Meaning, if you want change, start it with yourself. At this juncture, I would like to share with you my story about pain and suffering, and how I tried to live up to the expectations of a true and dedicated soldier for the love of God, country, and people. Hoping that you will derive lessons and inspirations from it, not only as soldiers, but even as fathers and sons of God. When martial was declared, I was blacklisted for being an activist at the University of the East High School, where I was exposed to student activism and radicalism. A cousin in PMA encouraged me to take the PMA entrance exam, which I took, and luckily passed. I was the youngest at 17 years and 3 days old. While in the academy, I was suspended indefinitely after I brought in the barracks 12 liters of Fineb de San Miguel on my birthday. Fortunately, I was called back to PMA. My suspension taught me a big lesson, and I became serious with my academics, more so with my conduct. The regimented life and consistent inculcation of good moral values in PMA made the cadets idealistic and at the same time courageous to take risks. But once caught for infraction of the regulation, be man enough to face the consequences. Among the values deeply ingrained in my heart was the strict adherence to the honor code, which stipulates that a cadet does not lie, steal, or cheat, nor tolerate those who do. The honor code lays down the foundation of every PMA graduate as we start our careers as professional soldiers. My life as a Marine officer was very colorful. I was promoted meritoriously to captain 4 years after graduation, way ahead of my contemporaries. To be exact, 3 years ahead of my class. I was promoted in 1983. My class was promoted in 1986. I was even 2 months senior. Tama ba, Sir Alex? Kasi I was promoted in 1983. Doon din sila magkakapera noong 1983. Pero 2 months, kaya nung dumalaw ako sa PMA, ang takbo noon was First Lieutenant Nelson Aliaga. I was wearing my captain kasi escort ako ng mga DAFA. So sabi ni Sir Nelson sa akin, Ariel, don't rub it in. Hindi ka naman nagsibilyan na lang. Sir, sabi ko, yung mga DAFA naka-uniforme, tapos naka-sibilyan ako. Hi. No. But my next promotion was 14 long years later, after I was involved in military exercises. I was one of the few officers, if not the only one, who was fought in actual combat all the armed groups in the Philippines during my time. The MNLF, the MILF, the Abu Sayyaf group, no? The CPP and PA. But my most formidable enemy was the armed forces of the Philippines. Worthy to note that the fact that I have practically earned all the awards the armed forces could give, including the much coveted Medal for Valor, all except the Wounded Personnel Medal, which I would have gotten if I was on the government side. That was in 1989. I assaulted Camp Aguinaldo because I was too idealistic as a young soldier. I had so much fire, so much, the fire of a youth. I offered my life to defend this country from all its enemies. So I led a provisional battalion that assaulted Camp Aguinaldo. I was badly hit by a rocket from the Sikorsky helicopter gunship. So I was brought to the morgue of the Querubin Labor Hospital and then transferred me to the AFP Medical Center, where 3 sets of doctors operated on me for 13 hours. They repaired my pancreas that was ruptured. They had to remove a portion of the left lobe of my liver and 6 feet of my small intestines. However, with the divine intervention of a doctor saw my PMA bull ring and my little finger twitch, so they immediately pulled me out of the morgue and transferred me to the AFP Medical Center. After 3 months, with wounds still fresh, I escaped from the Viluna Hospital and lived the life of a fugitive. So when I was in hiding, I had a reward of 500,000. After 1.5 years in hiding, I was caught incarcerated but was released on the eve of Christmas after 18 months in prison. From then on, I painstakingly climbed up the ladder, leading almost all military operations in my unit to prove to everyone that I was worth taking back into the mainstream of soldiery. As luck would have it, I was granted an unconditional amnesty, my first amnesty, by the Ramos administration. After my assignment in the field of Sulu, Basilan, Palawan, and Central Mindanao during the all-out war, I became the Philippine liaison officer to the East Sector, the peacekeeping forces of the United Nations in East Timor in 2001. When I came back from East Timor, I was again tasked to lead a group of Marines and Navy SEALs in an operation where we neutralized Abu Sabaya. He was the notorious spokesman of the Abu Sayyaf, who abducted and held as hostages the Burnham couple and other tourists from Dos Palmas in Palawan. Done with the action in Mindanao, I went for a study grant in Australia where I took my general staff course and master's degree. When I came back, I was designated superintendent of the Philippine Marine Corps Training Center. It was during this time when Lieutenant Dave Silverman of the U.S. Navy SEALs and other young officers who either witnessed cheating or they themselves were used to manipulate the results of the 2004 elections relayed to me various information of rampant election fraud. I became the repository of all the gripes and grievances. Without delay, I informed my chain of command about all the complaints, but to my astonishment and disbelief, I was told not to rock the boat and not to be naive. They told me everybody cheated in the election. I became so disillusioned. You know, we soldiers are also human beings with aspirations, hopes, and dreams. The service that we extend to our nation oftentimes demand the loss of lives. And yet, we too have families that we hope to secure a better future. Not only do we suffer being away from our loved ones, but more agonizing is the thought that our loved ones also risk losing us, not knowing if we will come back alive or lifeless in a casket. Nonetheless, I was kicked up and designated brigade commander in Marawi, in Lanao del Sur, where again I was in the front headlines, no? After disarming the Ampatuan clan. We confiscated 34 assorted high-powered firearms, all of which were loose with either tampered or defaced serial numbers, and thousands of rounds of ammunition. Senior military officers and influential politicians interceded for the release of said firearms, but I stood my ground. Cases were filed against a PNP provincial director and mayor of Cebu, who escorted the 6-vehicle convoy carrying said firearms. But all the cases were dropped after I was relieved from my position and was placed under house arrest. These were some of the many reasons why some officers and the elite units of the armed forces and PNP planned to march together with the people as a manifestation of their grievances. We brought the matter to the then AFP Chief of Staff because we wanted a peaceful and non-violent demonstration of our complaints. However, even if sympathetic to our cause, he confided to us that he could not lead us because he was also part of the cheating in 2004. But he ordered us to talk to the junior officers to abort our plans, which we obeyed just to avoid bloodshed. The Marine standoff took place only after the AFP leadership reneged on what was agreed upon. They removed our commandant without proper turnover. He just presided over a meeting to listen to all our sentiments with the presence of the flag officer in command, then Admiral Mayuga, where he even dissuaded the officers from joining the peaceful rally. In my case, I was after the need to preserve the institutional independence and integrity of not only the Marine Corps, but the armed forces. Never in the history were the Marines ever used in election fraud. Thereafter, I was relieved from my post as brigade commander and was subsequently detained for 4.5 years in 5 different detention facilities. Every time they see me smiling, it's time to move me to another facility. In the pre-trial investigation report, 3 military lawyers said that there was no probable cause to charge us with mutiny. However, the next AFP Chief of Staff, who was implicated in the 2004 election fraud, overturned the results of the investigation and ordered the imprisonment of 9 Marines, 19 Army officers, and 40 Army enlisted personnel without any legal basis. At first, I was furious with the AFP leadership who reneged against our gentleman's agreement and their promise that no one would be restrained or jailed. and I was so bitter because I have lost a promising military career. I would have been the first general in the class. A class that produced 2 chiefs of staff, General Bellosa and General Oban. When I was on my way out from Marawi, General Bellosa was coming in as Chief of Staff of 4th Infantry Division. So sorry because I'm not really techy, no? I have to lumundag eh. But as the years went by, I realized that the Lord saved me from possible harm by allowing me to figure in the 2006 non-event, even if I was not allowed to attend once-in-a-lifetime events of my children, such as graduations, first communions, and father and son nights. But he cushioned the effects of my imprisonment by giving me the Medal for Valor, a security for my family. I'm sure a lot of you experience the same thing, away from our loved ones. Our detractors tried very hard to spread malicious lies and stories just to taint my name and integrity. There were times when I was about to give up, when persecutions came not only from our jailers, but also from the people I least expect, my friends, and even from some of my co-detainees. But with the help of the Lord, instead of quitting, I became a stronger person. It was during this lowest point in my life that I realized that I had the most valuable gift, my family. God had to take away my freedom to make me realize how much my family meant and what unconditional love really means. At this point, I consider my incarceration a blessing, for I was given the time and opportunity to reflect and improve myself physically and spiritually. There's always a time in our lives or in our careers when one finds himself not happy anymore. In my case, I had to make a choice of coexisting in pain or live in order to find meaning in life. I must admit I mustered a lot of courage to do what I have done in 2006 and sacrificed my career, for I know pretty well that soldiering is the only thing I know I can do best. With a lot of circumspection and prayer, I decided to enter politics. I had no doubt in my mind that the Lord has all the while been preparing me for something else. I was left for dead in 1989, and He allowed me to spring back to life. The wounds of that event have already healed, but the scars are still very visible to remind me that the use of violence should never be an option to the very serious problems of the state. I have been in prison as a soldier, but I fully regained the honor and after having been awarded the Medal for Valor. As my military career was very much back on track, I was again challenged to choose between right and wrong, between honor and injustice, between good and evil. I could have remained silent and side with the former president because then I had the rare privilege of being called my hero by her. I was comfortable with my career. poised to be promoted to general, the first in my class. I could have chosen to play the game and stay quiet in the sidelines and fulfill my dream to be a general, while the young lieutenants and captains continue to question the very essence of the sacrifices they make for this country. But the values of courage, integrity, and loyalty, which were deeply rooted in the academy and my firm belief in our democracy, made me choose to do otherwise that many at that time chose to compromise or even took for granted. I had to fight for something bigger than my selfish ambitions and dreams. I did not have an easy life. My life story has been replete with vivid encounters with injustice, poverty, neglect, corruption, and war. I have seen and felt a lot of sufferings while out in the field and while incarcerated, but I never succumbed to the lure of material wealth. The physical, mental, and emotional hardships have been painful, but I never sold my soul. I thought the Lord wanted to use me as an instrument to help address these sufferings, to be able to deliver good governance. But then it was a part of His plan I lost in the 2010 senatorial elections. I regard experiences I had in life as a process of cleansing, like a diamond being cut with the highest standard to become smooth and to bring out the brilliance and luster with much patience and perseverance. I believe that each of us go through the same purification process and can also be a source of light for others. And if we learn our lessons well and live and act as we should, then we can possibly glow in some dark corners of our society. I left the service with no hatred in my life, in my heart. I have ended my service with the dignity and pride of a true Filipino soldier. Like Saint Ignatius, the patron saint of soldiers, I have surrendered my weapons before the altar of the Lord. I'm glad that I finally found peace with myself, my family, and with God. Besides, I believe in the declaration peace. And I quote, "Vengeance is not ours, it is God's." As Mahatma Gandhi said, "When I despair, I remember that all through history, the ways of truth and love have always won. There may be tyrants and murderers, and for a while they seem invincible, but in the end, they always fall." Think of it always. And so far, God has been so kind that I have been blessed with a decent job in San Miguel Corporation. I retired as Vice President and Special Assistant to Mr. Ramon Ang, and now as a full-time consultant. I still have functional supervision over so many senior AFP and PNP officers. The latest addition to our team is General Jagger Guerrero. He just signed his contract the other day. I've been longing to put up a foundation to help my fellow soldiers and their dependents, but my dream became true through San Miguel Foundation, which has been consistent in extending financial assistance and jobs to qualified dependents of our fallen soldiers and policemen. We gave 2 million worth of San Miguel products to each of the 165 fallen heroes in Marawi as a startup for their business. What more can I ask from the Lord? After what I went through, I am confident that for as long as God is by my side, I am ready to go through any adversity. At present, as I told you a while ago, there are more than 65 officers from the AFP. Retired or early retired. 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star general. They have joined San Miguel Corporation because they are not just security officers, they are also liaison officers to the different government agencies. You know, there's life after the service, for as long as, of course, we maintain a good name. They're so very effective, no? In their jobs because they get things done. They're mission-oriented. So it's all about building good relationships. No? When they go around, like in my case, I had so many detractors. Some of them became our regulators. So from the time that I got out of the service, I really have to mend fences with them. So now I'm friends of everybody. Before I end, let me remind all of you that there's life, right? I said a while ago. There is life as long as, there's life after the service as long as you keep your good name and reputation. I always remind my children that the only legacy I can leave them, I can leave to them, is my good name. And even now, after more than 34 years in the military service, I still continue to live by my favorite code, which I used in the yearbook, in the sword, when I graduated in 1979. At that time, I didn't know it was a Bible passage. Nakusundahan ko lang kasi I really want ba, when the time will come o pagtanda ko, gusto ko mangyari ito sa akin. It is Proverbs chapter 22 verse 1, and I quote, "A good name is rather to be Joseph than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold." Unquote. I end my very long speech with that. Maraming salamat uli kasi, you know, it's so ironic really, no? It took many years before finally the armed forces started recognizing all my accomplishments. It was only in November 30, 2021 when PMA gave me, siguro nandun kayo nun, binigyan ako ng military honors ng PMA. Alam mo, parang all my classmates who attended that sabi nila, "Mista, kami yung may goosebumps kasi alam namin masaya-masaya ka na." So ang tanong ko, why just now? Sabi ni Joey, "Sir, kasi kung maaga namin na-recognize ka na the most decorated Filipino soldier, rebelde kayo. So kung maaga pa na sabihin namin ito, na wala pa naman nangyayari na mga reform sa armed forces, baka marami magsunuran sa'yo." So, well, I'm so happy to be here in front of you, having fellowship with you. It's really an honor and a privilege. Daghang salamat sa inyo lahat. Mabuhay ang PMAAAI.
Thank you very much, sir. Indeed, you are never too old to become younger.